The Surveillance Hunter: Restoring the Killer Instinct. Part 5: Process Efficiency. Concerning the topics discussed in this series thus far, one of the most important yet easily overlooked components that may negatively affect the creation and retention of a surveillance room of hunters is that of overgrown, unchecked, low-value processes that prevent the eyes in the sky from returning to active duty. Surveillance hunters who have experienced the thrill of a successful catch often persevere through the necessary but less exciting tasks required in their role. They recognize that these tasks, when optimized, are essential. The goal of a surveillance hunter is to complete these tasks quickly and efficiently to transition to the more rewarding aspect of their work. Oftentimes, your surveillance hunters continually calculate value versus cost and are generally the ones who will do their best to bring to light more effective solutions. The motivational aspects of a surveillance hunter can range from the feeling of operational vulnerability, competitive prowess, the excitement of the catch, or even in some cases a selfish escape where the hunter can close out from the world and become one with their property and craft. In either circumstance, these members of your surveillance team are often intrinsically motivated to hunt. This is not to say that this drive and skill cannot be taught. It is just rarely properly cultivated. Inversely, surveillance personnel who are apathetic or operationally oblivious may simply go through the motions while lacking engagement or awareness of their team and surroundings. They might show disinterest or indifference towards their duties, thereby resulting in suboptimal performance and reduced effectiveness in detecting and responding to threats. These individuals tend to be passive-reactive and reluctant observers rather than proactive defenders who ultimately compromise the safety and security of the property. With new and inexperienced surveillance agents, most often they desire to belong and contribute. Oftentimes, with lackluster training or communication of the department's vision and product, the inexperienced surveillance agent may actually find solace in the accumulation of low-value tasks and thrive in completing the operationally redundant activities. When surveillance leadership positively identifies and attempts to remove bloated process or redundant notifications, oftentimes it is the inexperienced, unengaged, or apathetic agents that protest most. With sayings that are often heard such as, "I like it when they think we're watching," these assertions are rarely met with the proper antithetical response from leadership, or worse yet even agreed upon as a logical philosophy and a phrase within the vernacular of leadership. This individual or departmental mentality is often indicative of a lack of knowledge, lack of purpose, or lack of investment. As overgrown process is identified and cut away, surveillance leadership may find that those inexperienced or low-performing agents may protest and genuinely see value in the bloated process versus their ability or drive to detect real-time inordinacy. In other cases, it may be found that this resistance potentially comes from a place of perceived loss of power and control. In both scenarios, such surveillance agents may either see less friction in simple reactivity or more task-based personal validation than their experience affords them. Upon establishing the optimal surveillance product of meticulous investigation and methodical proactivity, surveillance leadership must first ensure that equal emphasis is placed on refining a value-based background process and the proper interpretation and application of regulatory obligations. In surveillance operations, the non-emergent duties must be relative and provide value to the surveillance product. It must be established that the hunter's workflow is continually optimized and that they are provided with a swift outlet for minor notifications and observations. It cannot be overstated how important it is that we operationally encourage and perpetually craft a system that expediently allows the hunter's eyes to return to the hunting grounds. The secret sauce to aggressive surveillance is in the application of gravity and friction. Operational gravity and friction are the best, yet most widely unidentified or unused tools in the creation of a surveillance room of hunters. Alternatively, improperly applied operational gravity and friction are at the root cause of a listless, ineffective, and minimally responsive surveillance department. Just as water flows downhill in the direction of the gravitational pull, we find that the water will move in the path of least resistance. Likewise, when the gravity of encouragement points towards anything other than the efficient product of a surveillance department, agents may be gravitationally drawn to things that do not align with the goals of our stakeholders, or worse yet, find less friction or lack of discipline in mediocrity. This should illuminate to surveillance departments nationwide the value of the surveillance hunters who strive to hunt in subpar conditions and remain aggressive even when the current department's gravity and friction makes it easier to remain strictly indifferent and reactive. Your hunters are often undervalued, bogged down, and in some cases, negatively subjugated by looking for what others may view as fairy tales. With a lack of operational support and intrinsic motivation to hunt, most surveillance agents will eventually revert to the mean of mediocrity. Whether we like it or not, whether we acknowledge it or not, we as surveillance leaders create operational gravity and friction on a daily basis. If we fail to remain aware of this fact and intentionally establish the proper forces of gravity and friction within our departments, we risk our agents being drawn in the wrong directions and workflows that inevitably follow the path of least resistance. The elements of gravity and friction exist in our departments as we speak. It is merely a question of what these forces lead to and whether your low performers or your hunters feel it the most.